All right, Afghanistan. Let's talk about Afghanistan. I hope you'll forgive me for not beginning the show with Afghanistan. There are other things in the world that are happening that are important, like, again, the extinction of our civilization, kind of an important thing. But Afghanistan is also happening. So we're going to go through some of this. This isn't even going to really be 5 headlines. This is just a jumble. This is a ball of headlines is what it's really going to be. So I had a bunch of things to cover here. We'll start, I guess, with Joe Biden. You've probably seen some of these clips, but worth playing again. He was interviewed by George Stephanopoulos on ABC, and this is the first time that Joe Biden has taken any questions on Afghanistan. These are the only questions. He has not given a single press conference about it, or he's given things that look like press conferences, but then he shuffles away before answering any questions about it. So he sits down here and he to allegedly answer some questions. But what he has to say is, we are used to hearing unintelligible things from this man, but this is far worse than you would even expect. Let's listen.
When you look at what's happened over the last week, was it a failure of intelligence, planning, execution, or judgment?
Look, I don't think it was a failure. Look, it was a simple choice, George. When the Taliban, let me back it, put it another way. When you had the government of Afghanistan, the leader of that government getting in a plane and taking off and going to another country, when you saw the significant collapse of the Afghan troops we had trained, up to 300,000 of them, just leaving their equipment and taking off, that was, that's what happened. That's simply what happened.
But we've all seen the pictures. We've seen those hundreds of people packed into a C-17. We've seen Afghans falling.
That was 4 days ago, 5 days ago.
What did you think when you first saw those pictures?
What I thought was we have to gain control of this. We have to move this more quickly. We have to move in a way in which we can take control of that airport. And we did.
So you don't think this could have been handled, this actually could have been handled better in any way? No mistakes?
No, I don't think it could have been handled in a way that we're going to go back in hindsight and look, but the idea that somehow there's a way to have gotten out without chaos ensuing, I don't know how that happens. I don't know how that happened.
So for you, that was always priced into the decision?
Yes.
The only thing that was honest and made sense of all those clips you just heard was where he said, I don't know how that happened. I believe him on that. He doesn't know how anything happened. The process by which he ended up sitting in that chair talking to the ABC reporter, he doesn't know how that happened either. It is not an exaggeration to say this man literally cannot complete a sentence. I mean, am I wrong? Was there one full sentence uttered? He starts to begin a sentence and then kind of trails off and cuts himself off and then goes off in another direction. Some of this is that he's scrambling to come up with excuses and he's panicking. But then a lot of it is also that he's 78 years old and he has dementia. Turns out that having a dementia-addled Alzheimer's patient for a president is not a good idea. Who would have thought? Turns out it's not a good idea. Can we agree to not ever do this again? The thing is, we can't agree. Even after this experience, we as a people are so collectively stupid that we can't even agree. Like, can we agree that we're never going to have another 78-year-old president ever again? We're not going to try this experiment again? We can't. He says it's hard to really analyze what he said because, again, there was almost nothing coherent there except when he confessed that he has no idea what's going on. The bit about how it was 4 or 5 days ago when people were falling off of airplanes, I'm not sure what he was actually going for there. What point was he trying to make? And of course, he's got his friend interviewing him, and he's not going to follow up. He's doing everything. The reporter George Stephanopoulos, whatever his name is, he's doing everything he can to help Joe Biden. He's asking questions, but he's doing everything. He's not going to follow up on a question where the answer was that embarrassing. That was 4 or 5 days ago. Yeah, and what's your point? First of all, it wasn't 4 or 5 days ago when he gave that answer. I can't imagine Joe Biden, if he was ever accused of murder, and he's sitting down during the interrogation. Did you murder that person? Look, that was 4 or 5 days ago. What does it matter? There are points you could make about the fact that people were falling off of the airplane. Now, I understand that the visual's obviously very upsetting for anybody. And politically, of course, it's also disastrous for the Biden administration. And for good reason, because as everyone agrees, this whole thing has been handled disastrously. But also, you could point out that people chose to sit on the outside of an airplane that was about to take off into the sky. And it's also very likely that the person flying the plane didn't know that. You don't exactly have rear view mirrors that are going to show you that. So he did. So the person flying the plane, let's not put the blame on them for this. They're trying to get out and they're being swamped by a mob of people. And so they're worried that this mob is going to stop everybody from getting out. They've got like 600 people inside that plane, most of them young men. So they're trying to get out. They didn't realize that there was anyone sitting on the outside of the plane. And I think it would have been reasonable for them to assume that nobody would do that because that's suicidal. There's like zero chance of that resulting in anything but your immediate death. I think that's a point that Joe Biden, if he was cognizant, could make. He could say, listen, it's a horrible thing. It's very, very sad. We can't blame the people on the ground for that. That would be fine. But he's not capable of saying that. Well, I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Matt Walsh Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right down there so you can stay up to date on all of our future content.